Everyone said that River was abducted by human traffickers and tortured for 3 days and 3 nights just to save me. Since then, he could only sit in a wheelchair. I took care of him wholeheartedly. Finally, he recovered his legs and became a big star. But then he turned around and married my younger sister. He said to me that if I hadn't been wearing my sister's clothes that day, he wouldn't have cared about me at all. Saving me was just because he had mistaken me for someone else. On the day he and my sister got married, I was locked in the basement by my sister. She stabbed me many times and told me to die. When I opened my eyes again, I was reborn at the time when I just got home. I bled a lot when I was dying and was on the verge of death. My sister was sitting beside me, panting. Her pure white gauze dress was covered with blood. On her face, having fulfilled my Odyssey, which was hailed as a masterpiece of God's showmanship by River's fans, there was a naive yet cruel smile. Since you had already reached the airport, why did you come back? It's enough for Mom and Dad to have me as their daughter. Why did you have to compete with me? Even River was given to me after you didn't want him. You're really a magnanimous good person. I struggled to raise my head. I was aching all over. Hearing her words, I couldn't help but pull a sarcastic smile. Since childhood, she had been the apple of our parents' eyes. Back then, Mom and Dad originally only wanted to have a younger sister for my older brother, but unexpectedly gave birth to 2 daughters at once. Because of the high pressure in the city, they wanted to choose one of me and my sister to send back home. When they were hesitating, my sister had a fever and said with a pale face, "Why don't you send me back? Sister likes pretty clothes and definitely will be able to bear it if she goes back." Mom and Dad felt so distressed when they saw her shaky body and tightly pursed lips that they directly decided to send me back. When I got home, I was already 15 years old. Compared to them, I was more like an outsider. Even River was under her spell. Nobody knew why River, who had wholeheartedly liked my sister back then, would try so hard to save me. He was even abducted by human traffickers and tortured for 3 days and 3 nights because of saving me. When he came back, there wasn't a single intact patch of skin on his body, and his legs were broken so that he had to sit in a wheelchair. I took good care of him for 10 years. When he achieved fame and success, what I got was a plane ticket from him. I still remembered the night when he stood up from the wheelchair at the concert. The screams echoed through the sky, and he was on 12 hot searches that night. But that night, he said to me, "You can leave. Your 10 years of care are enough to repay the life-saving favor." We're even now. My mind was in turmoil. The elaborate meal prepared on the table now looked like a joke. Fortunately, having fulfilled my Odyssey, his assistant had quietly told me 2 days before that he had bought a ring and was probably going to propose. If you hadn't been wearing Venus's clothes that day, I wouldn't have made a mistake and ended up in such a situation. His tone was cold, and with just a few casual words, he shattered my 10-year dream. I had always thought that he liked me. After all, we had been together for 10 years. And he had said that he loved me many times. It turned out that all of it was false. Did you ever? Never. He interrupted me with a sarcastic look on his face. If I hadn't said that, could you have taken care of me for 10 years? In my heart, the only person I've loved from the beginning to the end is Venus. It's just that I didn't have the qualifications to be with her before. I opened my mouth but couldn't say anything. Let's part on good terms. After all, you haven't turned less by relying on my fame over the years. I haven't treated you unfairly either. After that, he showed his love in a high-profile way. He wrote affectionate short essays about the regrets of childhood sweethearts and deep love. And the whole internet went crazy about shipping them as a couple. My sister also lived up to expectations and responded. A week later, the 2 of them decided to get married. On the day of their wedding, I had already been in the waiting hall at the airport, but for some reason, I felt an urge to come back and take one last look. I convinced myself that I would leave after just one look, and never come back again. But I didn't expect to run into my sister as soon as I got downstairs. I didn't want to argue with her, but she just waved her hand, and a group of people rushed up, covered my eyes, and took me into a car. When I opened my eyes, I was in a basement. Why? Why are you doing this to me? I didn't understand. Obviously. She already had everything. Why couldn't she just let me go? Sister. For the sake of you being on the verge of death, I'll be kind enough to tell you something. I was the one who found those human traffickers back then. I knew about it from the moment they caught the wrong person. But I hated the way he sometimes looked at you. I just wanted to teach him a lesson. Who knew it would turn out to be such a big mess in the end? Fortunately, having fulfilled Lay, you took such good care of him. Who would have thought that this cripple would have a day to make a comeback? For the sake of your hard work, I'll gladly take this achievement. Don't you know? When you finally found a clue back then, I knew that you had discovered it. So I informed the police one step ahead. River has always thought that the person who saved him was me all these years. So he couldn't forget about me. Dear sister, I hope you be born with a smarter brain in your next life and don't be so stupid anymore. She laughed loudly, patted my face, and left leisurely. My vision was already blurred, and I felt cold all over. It turned out that my short life was just a joke. TSK. What a waste of a life. Selena. If you like this coat, I'll give it to you. When I opened my eyes, I saw Venus with a red nose in front of me. She was holding a white down jacket in her hand, and her face was full of grievance. Isn't this the coat that Venus likes the most? Why do you want to give it to sister today? Mom teased. Venus burst into tears and didn't say a word. Mom and Dad looked at each other, took the down jacket, and opened it. There were obvious cuts inside. I saw sister trying on this coat in my room several times. Originally, having fulfilled my obsession, I wanted to give it to sister. But before I could, I found. Sister. I don't blame you. I didn't want to mention this at first. I just wanted to give you the coat and forget about it. My older brother was sitting aside playing games. He glanced at it and muttered. Growing up in the countryside, she's both bad and stupid. No wonder the villagers didn't like her. Mom and Dad's expressions also turned sour. They looked at each other, put the coat aside, sighed, and comforted her. Don't cry. Mom and Dad will buy you a new one. Okay? Then they turned to me, and their faces turned cold. Originally, having fulfilled my obsession, we saw that you had been eyeing your sister's down jacket and thought about buying you one. But now it seems unnecessary. Since your sister gave it to you, it's yours. I lowered my eyes and looked at the tattered down jacket in my hand. When the wind blew, the down feathers scattered and flew everywhere. In my memory, this happened when I was 17 years old. 2 years after I got home. Mom and Dad had changed from feeling guilty at first to having a headache whenever they mentioned me now. And Venus had played a big part in this. In my previous life, I mended this down jacket. As soon as I put it on, I encountered a kidnapping incident. I pursed my lips and silently took the coat back to my room. A bedroom converted from a warehouse was barely tidy. In my previous life, I had always lived here. In winter, the heating couldn't reach it, and in summer, the air conditioner couldn't cool it. There was only a small window. Mom's excuse was that the house was too crowded, and since I had just arrived and wasn't familiar with my older brother and sister, I could stay here for the time being. And I never moved out after that. Sitting on the bed, I hadn't come to my senses yet when the door rang. I heard River's voice. Venus. You must come to my birthday party tomorrow. Is sister going? River was silent for a moment, sounding a bit reluctant. She can come if she wants to. Then go and tell sister. She's actually been looking forward to your birthday party all the time. The next second, River pushed the door open and was about to speak. But I preemptively refused. I'm not going. River frowned, looking cold. If Venus weren't so kind, I wouldn't want to invite you either. Then, that's just right. I shrugged. I don't want to go anyway. That's what you said. River slammed the door and left. There was Venus's exclamation outside the door. Probably she didn't understand why River was so angry. I remembered what Venus had said in my previous life. She hated the way River sometimes looked at me. I still mended that coat. The difference was that this time I put a locator, a recording device, and a knife on me. For a plan to work, the bad guys have to be punished. right? I came back for another chance. Not to make her plan fail and then go on with my own life. The next day at school. During the break, River walked over and knocked on my desk. Today's my birthday. I know. Don't you even want to say happy birthday? I raised my head from the book and looked at the slight nervousness on that handsome face. What came to my mind was the scene when he threw the plane ticket at me in my previous life. Disdain mixed with contempt and a trace of disgust. The two faces overlapped. And I could hardly restrain myself from slapping him in the face. If you think you're happy, then other people's blessings don't matter. I casually said that and then lowered my head to continue doing the exercises. River was silent for a moment. And there was a trace of grievance in his voice. Selena. Did I offend you? You promised to give me a birthday present just 2 days ago. Sister. What are you talking about? Venus suddenly ran over loudly. Took River's arm. And acted cockathiously. Did you make sister angry again? She smiled and gently punched him. Reproaching. You know that sister is still upset about yesterday's coat. Why did you have to annoy her? I just wanted to invite her to the birthday party. River paused. Don't you want sister to accompany you? I didn't miss the flash of envy and hatred in Venus's eyes. She immediately put on a disappointed expression. Yes, heading fulfilled my answers. I just thought that sister would be pitiful staying at home alone. But since sister doesn't want to go that much, let's just forget it. Some classmates couldn't help but sneer. Stop pretending. Venus was kind enough to take you with her. But you don't appreciate it. She's probably like this at home all the time. She's so annoying to look at. Venus is just too kind. If nobody wants to be with her, then so be it. Why did you have to bring her and spoil our fun? Venus's eyes quickly turned red. She lowered her head and tugged at the corner of her clothes. I just thought that sister would be lonely staying at home alone. I hope everyone can understand her. I quietly watched her performance. In my previous life, I had never known why everyone didn't want to be friends with me. Buried in inferiority, I always kept my head down and studied quietly like an invisible person in the class. I always thought that it was because I wasn't good enough that nobody liked me. I had once heard my older brother complaining to mom and dad that I was too gloomy and not as bright and lovely as Venus. In my previous life, it wasn't until I grew up while helping River handle all kinds of affairs that I gradually realized that Venus had probably played a big part in my being isolated back then. Selena, adding so and sigh. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going or not? River was impatient and snorted coldly. Playing hard to get should have a limit. Everyone suddenly realized and looked at me with even more contempt. Sure. I agreed. Since you've all pleaded with me like this, wouldn't it be ungrateful of me if I didn't agree? Everyone was stunned for a moment as if they were disappointed not to see a look of timidity or happiness on my face. River frowned and warned me. Enough of your little tricks. Don't go on and become annoying. After saying that, he left. Venus quickly followed behind him. Sister. I'll go explain to River that you're not that kind of person. He must have misunderstood. No need. I interrupted her. He's not important. So I don't care what he says. River's departing figure stiffened for a moment. I smiled and said, didn't you say you asked me to come just to keep you company? Then just consider that I'm here to accompany you. Venus' eyes flickered and she forced a smile. Sister. Are you angry again because I'm close to River? Actually, there's really nothing between us. If you have any misunderstandings, then let me apologize to you. Okay? Don't blame River anymore. Some time ago, I saw you buying a gift for River. I remember you saved up money for a long time for that gift. River turned around with a slight upturn at the corners of his mouth. Selena. Seeing that you're so sincere, I won't hold today's matter against you. Remember to come tonight. A gift? I lowered my eyes. It seemed that there was such a thing. It's just that after being reborn, I completely forgot about it and didn't even know where I had put it. In my previous life, I remembered that River liked shoes. I saved up my living expenses for a long time, did a lot of research, and managed to grab a pair at the right time. I wrapped them up carefully and gave them to him. But he just casually threw them aside and said coldly, I don't wear fakes. Before I could explain, He was dragged away by Venus. I spent the whole birthday party being ridiculed by my classmates. That night, I waited until the last person left before leaving because I wanted to explain to him that the shoes I bought weren't fakes. But before I could, the kidnapping incident happened. Coming back to my senses, I touched the necklace around my neck and the knife in my pocket. And my heart gradually calmed down. In my previous life, I almost begged Venus to take me with her. In this life, as soon as I refused, Venus urged River to continue inviting me. Looking as if she was determined to make me go. It seemed that she was already prepared. After school in the evening, I went home, changed my clothes, and arrived at River's family villa on time. Most of the classmates had already arrived. When River saw me, he walked over with big strides and blatantly stretched out his hand. I casually placed a crystal ball in his hand and said perfunctorily, "Happy birthday." The smile on River's face froze. "What's this?" "A birthday gift," I replied. He gritted his teeth. "Didn't Venus say you bought?" Oh, you mean the shoes?" After I bought them, I found out they might be fake, so I returned them, since there wasn't enough time to buy anything else. This crystal ball has a Swiss snow scene in it. It's a place I want to go in the future. I'm giving you my wish. Aren't you happy? After all, you know I don't have much money at home. A gift is valuable because of the sentiment behind it, don't you think? River's eyes almost popped out. After a long while, he took a deep breath and nodded. "Thank you." "You're welcome." I passed by him, took off my down jacket, and casually hung it in the cloakroom prepared for guests in the corridor. River asked in confusion at the door. "Selena, have you been to my house before?" My hand froze. And suddenly I didn't know what to say. In my previous life, I had lived in this villa for 10 years and was familiar with every inch of the place. At first, I couldn't tell which rooms were prepared for whom and what their functions were. Every time River's mother would severely criticize me, I knew she was angry with me. So I always lowered my head and let her vent. Later, when I remembered clearly, she couldn't find any fault with me and got angry on her own. River once told me, "You'd better make mistakes as before. Mom is under a lot of pressure, and only when she scolds you can she relieve it a little." At that time, I wanted to ask. Her pressure was relieved, but what about me? But he had already pushed his wheelchair away. I guessed. I walked out of the door. I checked the layout of the villas here on the internet before coming. Coincidentally, a real estate agent was sharing it. I didn't know whether River believed it or not. I looked around. "Your house is quite big. Where should we go next?" "Follow me." The classmates were gathered by the swimming pool. I saw Venus in the crowd at a glance. When she saw us coming together, there was obvious surprise on her face. She ran over and shook my arm. "Sister, you're finally here. Did you give the gift to River?" "Yes, having fulfilled my obsession." "I did." I pulled my arm back. Her eyes rolled and she exclaimed, "Sister, isn't this too perfunctory of you? This is called a small gift with deep sentiment." River answered quickly. "Selena said this is her wish. To go to Switzerland in the future." He glanced at me and stammered, "Maybe we can go together then." I found it funny in my heart. In my previous life, he couldn't see all the efforts I made for him. I wrote songs for him when he was down and out and made him a big star. I also served as his crutch time and time again during his rehabilitation training, supporting him and constantly encouraging him. He just couldn't see any of it. He would only lose his temper with me and then hug me and cry, begging me not to leave. Now that I ignored him, it seemed as if he liked me instead. How cheap. Because of River's words, Venus was absent-minded throughout the whole party. I saw that she had been holding her mobile phone in her hand. When it was time to make a wish, all the lights went out. The first thing River did when he opened his eyes after closing them was to look at me. I had a calm expression on my face. The others jeered and asked him what wish he had made. He said, "I wish that I can walk through the rest of my life with someone." Everyone looked at Venus ambiguously. My eyes were calm and I clearly saw River's disappointment. Suddenly, I was very curious. When did he start to like me? If he really liked me, Why did he hurt me so much in my previous life? I didn't understand. Venus saw this scene and seemed to make up her mind. She walked out, muttering and making a phone call. When she came back, there was a smug smile on her face. When the party ended, I still stayed until the last. Venus had already run away. When I was leaving, River grabbed his coat. "I'll give you a ride." I didn't refuse. On a winter night, fine snow was falling. I looked at the snow and couldn't remember if it had snowed at this time in my previous life. "Selena, do you hate me very much?" River's voice was hesitant. "Yes, heavy too," I replied. My answer made his face turn a bit pale. "Why? Does it matter to you whether I like you or hate you?" He opened his mouth but finally just lowered his head. "It matters." Before I could say anything, I saw 3 people suddenly running out from the shadows beside the street lamp. That figure was something I could never forget even in my dreams. 2 of them rushed up and bumped into River. And the remaining one grabbed my arm and covered my mouth and nose with a handkerchief. I passed out without struggling at all. Damn it. If she hadn't offered more money, I definitely wouldn't have kidnapped anyone today. What should we do now? It's all that guy's fault. He's like a mad dog and fights like he doesn't care about his life. I'll call that woman. Either she pays more money or I'll expose this. What about this woman? Has the camera been set up? Get it ready first. We'll talk about it after I negotiate. Selena. Selena. I heard River's hoarse voice and pretended to have just woken up, looking around in panic. It was a familiar factory building. "Are you okay?" River struggled to move over. He looked terrible with many injuries on his face. His clothes torn, and one of his legs hanging crookedly as if it was broken. "Where is this? What happened to us? These people must have been instigated by someone." River whispered to me. "I just heard them say they were going to call someone to ask what to do with the 2 of us." I showed just the right amount of surprise. "Who on earth is so evil as to want to harm you?" River didn't say anything. Obviously lost in thought. I comforted him. "Don't worry. I have a small knife with me. I'll cut the ropes later and then we'll run." River's eyes lit up, but then he shook his head. "No. The 2 of us can't outrun the 3 of them." "What should we do then?" I bit my lip and forced out a few tears. River seemed a bit moved. "Don't be afraid. I'm here. You cut the ropes first. Then I'll help you hold them back and you go call the police." "What about you?" "Be good. I'll wait for you to come and save me." "River. I'm only in this mess because of you. Don't try to pin it on me." River gave a bitter smile. "Don't worry. Even if something happens to me, I definitely won't blame you. It's all my own choice." I felt a bit relieved in my heart. I slowly cut the ropes and secretly slipped a small backup mobile phone into his hand. "Find a place to hide. In case I run away and they move to another place, I can use the phone's location function to find you." This was a specially bought mobile phone with a positioning function. It was only the size of a palm and looked like a retro game console on the outside. River nodded and stuffed it into his trouser leg. He took a deep breath, and I turned around and ran along the wall. This time, we both became the victims together, and I also shifted the focus onto him. As long as we were rescued in time, even if it was later found out that I was the original target of the kidnapping, what could happen? By then, Venus would be there to divert attention. Damn it. She's run away. Chase her. Little bitch. When I catch you, I'll kill you. Don't let her get out. Hurry. Fuck. How dare you stop me? I heard the angry shouts behind me, and the sound of fists hitting people. I didn't dare to look back and just kept running along the route I remembered. Finally, having fulfilled my sigh, I saw light. I got back onto the road, and there was a traffic policeman standing on the roadside. I practically threw myself into his arms. Help! Someone's kidnapping. The next second, I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. A policeman was sitting beside my bed. Looking around, I didn't see my parents. The policeman kindly answered for me. "Your parents went home to cook. They'll probably be here soon." I grabbed his sleeve. "Quick! Go and save River. He's still in that warehouse." River's parents rushed in from outside the door. River's mother, with her hair disheveled, fell to her knees in front of me with a "Fed. Good child. Tell me. Where's River? Where's River?" I burst into tears. We were in a warehouse. River and I were deliberately kidnapped. River heard what the kidnappers said. And then he told me to run first to find someone. It's all my fault. I ran for a long time and passed out when I saw someone. Do you know the specific location of the warehouse? I shook my head and said in River's parents' disappointed eyes. But I slipped a mobile phone to River. It can be located. There was no time to lose. The police immediately took action. In my previous life, with Venus acting as an inside accomplice, it took everyone 3 whole days to find the person. And they didn't even manage to catch the kidnappers in the end. This time it was different. Not only was the rescue quick enough, but the criminals were also arrested on the spot. It was said that when the police arrived, they were still pushing River's head into a dirty water bucket. When River was rescued, he was in a terrible state. There were wounds all over his body. The posture of his legs was clearly abnormal as they were twisted. And there was a deep cut on his face that reached all the way to the corner of his mouth. River's mother almost fainted from crying. I supported her while pretending to be grief-stricken. The police officer sighed and said, "Selena, we still need you to make a detailed statement." "Certainly." I wiped my tears. "We must find out who's behind this." I described the process of being kidnapped in great detail. The listening device on my neck had recorded the kidnapper's words in the warehouse very well. Hearing that it was premeditated, the police took it seriously. After that, there was nothing much for me to do. I went back to the hospital ward at ease and waited for the results. Mom didn't arrive until evening. She was carrying a thermos bucket and showed me an apologetic smile. Venus wasn't feeling well this evening, so the cooking was a bit late. "It's okay. Is Venus all right?" I didn't care at all about her little tricks at this time. On the contrary, I was quite magnanimous and could even show some concern for her. Mom looked at me in surprise. "She has a bit of a stomachache. Maybe she ate something bad." After that, we just looked at each other in silence. In my previous life, I had so many things I wanted to say to her and so many questions I wanted to ask her. But time was so long that it smoothed out all my feelings of love, hate, anger, and obsession towards her. "Selena, don't blame Mom for what happened when you were little. We've missed you a lot over the years. Venus has been spoiled and is a bit willful. You're the older sister, so be more tolerant of her. You two are sisters. In the future, when you enter society, you can support each other. There's no need for the family to be so tense." I paused while leading and looked up at her. "Mom, have you said these words to Venus?" She was at a loss for words. "I thought you were more sensible." "Mom, Venus says it. I didn't do anything wrong. You know that, right?" Mom avoided my gaze. And I started laughing. So she had always known. She knew about Venus's targeting of me. About my brother's dislike for me. And that they had all deliberately made me a stranger in this family. But she didn't say anything. Just because Venus was the child she was proud of, while I wasn't. Oh no. Oh no. Suddenly, my brother burst in, sweating all over. "The police are going to take Venus away. They said the kidnappers confessed that Venus instigated them to kidnap River and Selena." I slowly lowered my head and scooped up a spoonful of tofu and seafood soup. It tasted really bad. Mom had never remembered that I was allergic to seafood. It was Venus who had always loved seafood. The family was in chaos. When Venus was taken away, she cried and denied it, but the evidence was conclusive. It couldn't be solved just by her shedding a few tears. It was said that River's mother rushed straight to our home and questioned Venus about why she had done it. I don't know if she was stupid or just had nothing to lose. She said that she hated River for liking me. Clearly, she and River were childhood sweethearts. And River had said that he would marry her when they grew up. But after I came, River never remembered her again. River's mother was so furious that she rushed up, grabbed her by the hair, and slapped her. Nobody could stop her. Mom and Dad were in a terrible state. On the one hand, they didn't believe that the kind and lovely Venus in their eyes could do such a vicious thing. On the other hand, they were worried about how to solve the problem. Quite unusually, My brother came to the hospital. His hair was messy like a chicken coop. His clothes were in disarray. His face was haggard, and he had dark circles under his eyes. It seemed that he had no one else to talk to. And he kept muttering to me. How could Venus do this? She said in the police station that she originally hired them to deal with you just to teach you a lesson and make you suffer a bit. But those kidnappers said that Venus told them to bully you. I don't understand. Are you girls also petty? I swallowed a mouthful of takeout food. Venus is Venus. Don't generalize about other girls. My brother stared at me blankly. Can you still eat? Selena. Don't you have a heart? Why can't I eat? I sneered. I'm the victim. Why should I worry about the perpetrator? Besides, what does Venus have to do with me? Brother. Have you forgotten? In this family, you and Venus were in cahoots. My brother's lips moved. And after a while, he lowered his head and said, I'm sorry. Stop. I waved my hand to stop him. I don't want to forgive you. So don't apologize to me. In the future, we can just be like before. But you're my sister. He said in a low voice. I pretended not to hear him. I didn't cherish this belated affection. He probably didn't really want to get close to me that much either. It was just that Venus's actions had shocked him so much that he couldn't recover for a while. River woke up. His legs were broken. And the wound on his face wouldn't heal. There would always be a scar. It was said that he smashed up the whole ward and got angry and wouldn't let anyone in. It was the same in my previous life. At that time, he would hit anyone who came near him. It was I who stepped into that door again and again. Begged him to eat. And no matter how he treated me, I pretended not to hear or see it. I had been hit on the forehead by a bull, had water splashed on my face, and had been asked to kneel on the ground to clean up the food he had knocked over. I didn't complain at all because I thought I owed him. In this life, without me to bear his anger, I wondered what he would do. I was in such a good mood that I ate another bowl of rice. When I was discharged from the hospital, my brother came to pick me up. He looked so dejected, with a blank look in his eyes. When he saw me, he couldn't help but open his mouth to say something. But remembering my attitude that day, he finally swallowed it and didn't say anything. When I got home, Dad looked at me and said in an unusually warm voice, You're back. Are you feeling better? Much better. After saying that, I pushed open the door of my room directly and was stunned. Mom came over and sighed. You can live in Venus's room from now on. This room is too small. We'll leave it for Venus. Has she been released? Mom shook her head. We went to beg the River family. The River family agreed to write a letter of understanding. Besides, your sister is a minor, so this matter can be settled. But from now on, Venus has to go and take care of River and can't go to school anymore. You agreed to that? Mom avoided my eyes. You and your brother still have to take the college entrance examination and will work in the future. There can't be any stains on our family. Besides, River became like this because of her after all. It's only right for her to take care of him. I couldn't help but laugh. I'm afraid the main reason is that there can't be any stains on my brother's life. Thinking about River's love for Venus in my previous life, he got what he wanted in a way. There will be a good show to watch in the River family from now on. I had personally experienced River's mother's methods. This time, they might be even more severe. But I didn't want to let them off so easily. I had to make them turn against each other to relieve my anger. The couple who were so devoted to each other in my previous life can only rot together in the dust in this life. Just thinking about it makes me happy. On the day Venus was released from the detention center, nobody went to pick her up. She had lost a lot of weight. When she came back, she stood timidly at the door. When she saw Mom and Dad, her eyes lit up. She knelt on the ground, kowtowed and burst into tears. But this time, nobody cared about her. I sat at the dining table with great interest, eating. The clothes I was wearing were clean and fit me well. I was sitting in the seat where she used to sit. The food was fresh. And I had also changed rooms. Even from this distance, I could feel the tangible hatred from Venus. Mom, Dad, do you really not want me anymore? She cried pitifully. My brother couldn't bear it and walked over to help her up. Mom and Dad really emptied all their savings for you this time. Although you and River were childhood sweethearts, the River family's situation is so different from ours. Just across the road. It's like two different worlds. This time, apart from this house, the family really has nothing left. For your matter, Mom and Dad begged the River family to cover it up, but the condition is that you have to go to the River family. From now on, you have to take care of River. And you can only go to school with River's permission. Mom and Dad really did their best. Besides, you owe this to River. What familiar lines. I had heard them in my previous life. And now it was Venus's turn in this life. She stared blankly, as if she didn't understand what my brother meant. Until she met my smiling eyes. Selena. It's you. Why don't you just die? Why did you come back to compete with me? If it weren't for you. If there were no you. Get it straight. I swallowed the food in my mouth. You brought this upon yourself. What does it have to do with me? Venus. What are you talking about? Selena is your sister. Mom covered her chest, looking extremely sad. As if she were seeing Venus for the first time. Didn't you say that one daughter was enough for you? Then why did you bring her back? Clearly, hadn't fulfilled Rayad Sasher. I was the one who got the most attention in the family. Why did you have to take care of her when she came back? If you can't treat your children equally, then don't have children. Venus shouted hysterically. I silently agreed in my heart. Yes, having fulfilled my obsession. If you can't treat your children equally, then don't have so many children. Venus was still forcibly sent to the River family by Dad. Her things were simply packed up. And the procedures at school had already been handled. What's done is done. With one person missing from the family. Mom and Dad seemed to finally remember me. They kept asking me about my well-being all day long. As if they wanted to give me all the love they had neglected before. But I didn't need it. They could also feel my indifference. One night, Mom wiped her tears and cried to me about how hard it was for them and that they had to make sacrifices and there was nothing they could do. I didn't want to listen and just turned around and left. Anyway, she couldn't do anything to me. On the morning when I was about to go to school, as soon as I walked out the door, I saw Venus, who was wearing only a thin dress, sweeping the fallen leaves. There were wounds on the skin exposed outside. In the cold winter, she was shivering in just a dress in the cold wind. I looked at her for a while carrying my school bag, then turned around and left without hesitation. As soon as I arrived at school, my classmates gathered around me, asking all kinds of questions. I just said that I couldn't disclose anything and only vaguely revealed some of Venus's recent situation. For example, what kind of life she was living in the River family. When school was over, everyone invited me to visit River at his home. I agreed. I also happened to want to see what River looked like now. It was just a pity that he didn't taste bitterness in my previous life. Wipe this clean. Has River's meal been prepared? What are you wearing? You came to my house to take care of River. Are you trying to seduce him? If it weren't for you, how could River end up in such a state? You still have the nerve to cry. The classmates looked at each other in dismay and didn't dare to go in when standing at the door. All right, Mom. This is just temporary. I'll definitely be able to stand up again in the future. So please stop scolding Venus. There was exhaustion in River's voice. River's mother paused for a moment. And her anger grew even stronger. River. What kind of magic potion has this woman given you? I've already told you that she's the cause of all this today. Why don't you believe Mom? Why are you still speaking up for her? Don't you know that you're stabbing Mom in the heart? I was startled. River was speaking up for Venus? And he was so certain that he would be able to stand up again. Could it be? I reached out and knocked on the door. When the nanny saw me, my expression became even more bitter. I put on a smile and greeted her generously. Auntie. My classmates and I came to see River. Is he feeling better? River was sitting with his back to me, his posture stiff. Venus was looking at me with hatred in her eyes. You. River's mother's expression was a bit unnatural. She sighed and said, "Come in and sit down. River has been much better these 2 days and can already sit up. Thank you for still thinking about him. Don't mention it. We're all classmates. We're all very sad that River had an accident. It's good to see that he's getting better." The classmates started saying polite remarks one after another. I walked up to River and looked down at him. River. How are you? Are you feeling better? He raised his head. His formerly handsome face was now cut by a scar. His eyes were complicated. His lips moved. But he didn't say anything at first. I leaned closer to him and whispered. You've also come back, haven't you? River's pupils dilated in shock and he grabbed me at once. I smiled and slowly pried his fingers open one by one. River. Did you like the gift I gave you? Selena. How does it feel to know the truth? I heard Dante said that you didn't want to believe it. Why don't you ask Venus herself? I straightened up and took a step back, saying regretfully. It's a pity that River and Venus can't go to school anymore. But it doesn't matter. I'll carry on well with your hopes. Venus' face twisted and she couldn't wait to pounce on me and bite me the next second. But being glared at by River's mother, she could only stand there reluctantly. Auntie, what is Venus doing in your house? A curious classmate asked. River's mother rolled her eyes and vividly started talking about the kidnapping case from the beginning. River, sitting aside, grew paler and paler as he listened and his body kept trembling. I kindly said, Auntie, it seems that River can't bear to hear these things. Why don't I push him back to his room? You can chat with the classmates. River's mother nodded and sighed. Selena, you're really worlds apart from that bitch. It's just a little effort. I pretended not to hear River's mother's words and pushed the wheelchair towards the second floor. At the elevator entrance, River spoke in silence. Selena, Venus and I didn't get married. There was a surveillance camera in that basement. The person watching the surveillance was so panicked that he ran out to call the police. By the time the police arrived, you were already dead. Your parents were very sad. I was also very sad. And then? I asked him. How was Venus dealt with? He fell silent. I sneered. Whether considering River's fame more from the perspective of his relatives. I thought they wouldn't let this matter become a big deal. So the final result was probably signing a letter of understanding and then letting it pass. Anyway, hadn't fulfilled my obsession. For so many years before, it was as if I didn't exist. Selena, I regret it. River let out a long sigh. I always thought that I loved Venus. But after you left, I couldn't eat or sleep, and I couldn't write another song. I just felt that your presence was all around me. Once I closed my eyes, all the bits and pieces of our 10 years together came to mind. Then I realized that you had already unconsciously integrated into my life and everything about me. Obviously, having fulfilled my desire. At the very beginning, I liked you. How did it come to be that everyone thought I liked Venus later? Even I was deceived myself. He trembled as he held my hand, his eyes full of pleading. Selena, let's be together. Let's get married. I'll give you a home and make up for everything from our past life. River, did you leave your brain in the past life when you were reborn? I didn't hesitate to pull my hand back. Have you forgotten what you said to me in the past life? We don't owe each other anything. Saving me was just because I was wearing Venus clothes and you mistook me for her. How dare you expect me to change my mind after using me and then abandoning me? Guess if you can still stand up and be as glorious as in the past life without my help this time? And your face, I said meaningfully. In the entertainment industry, without this face, who would care about your voice? It was Venus who caused all of this. Don't you hate her? Or do you still love her like you did in the past life? He stared at me fixedly. Selena, is this what you want? No, this should be what you want. If you want to have a glorious second half of your life like in the past life, you should try to please me even more, right? In the past life, he was only immersed in self-pity. I was the one who went to the hospital and found doctors for him. He didn't even know what surgeries he had undergone and which doctors he had seen to be able to stand up. By the way, I'll tell you one more thing. In the past life, it was actually me who finally rescued you. It's just that Venus heard that I had found the location of the warehouse and preemptively told the police. Did she tell you this in the past life? River seemed to be choked. Unable to say a word, he reached out to pull me. But I took a step back. He fell down from the wheelchair in a sorry state. His once tall body curled up on the ground. making useless whimpering sounds. Thank goodness that he relived the past pain in this way. There's nothing sadder than the feeling of shattered hopes. It's really nice to see the once healthy River face his broken body again. After I went home, I completely left them behind. I just occasionally shared things about school with River. Like that I was running, doing sports, and winning first place. These were things that he and Venus could never have again. River knew that I was doing it on purpose. But he didn't delete my messages. He wrote the songs from the past life based on his memory, trying to replicate his success. Unfortunately, after I knew that he was also reborn, I wrote out the lyrics first and released them. As soon as he released a song, I sent him a lawyer's letter. Moreover, with his face disfigured, the few fans attracted by his singing voice thought he was ugly and unfollowed him. He completely fell into the dust. On the night before the college entrance examination, I received a WeChat message from River. Selena, if I could go back to the past life, I would definitely beg you to forgive me. I didn't reply. After the college entrance examination, I heard a piece of news. River killed Venus. He stabbed her 24 times. And each stab was fatal. After the incident was exposed, there were more inside stories. It was said that Venus was dissatisfied with being a nanny in River's family. When River's mother wasn't around, she would abuse River to vent her anger. River resisted and struggled, but she bullied him even more severely and was even sent to the police station. However, Venus was very cautious, and there were no obvious external injuries on River's body. River couldn't bear it and told Venus to get out. Unexpectedly, Venus clung to River's family as if she had found a trick and just wouldn't leave, throwing tantrums at home and asking River to be responsible for her whole life. Before the college entrance examination, Venus became even more vicious. River couldn't bear it and hid a knife in his arms, planning to die with her. Later, my parents brought back Venus' body and bought a cemetery plot for her. My older brother had gone to college a year earlier than me. He didn't come back or make a phone call when Venus was buried. I applied to a university in the farthest city. When I left home, my mother asked me timidly, "Selena, will you come back?" In a trance, I saw my former self, tugging at my mother's sleeve in the old house and asking her, "Mom, will you come back?" I showed a smile just like my mother's back then and said softly, "We'll see."